I'm super excited today to share with you all a little bit about raw edge applique, and I'm going to be using my M7 today, and it's just amazing with applique. How's everyone doing today? Hi from Brampton. I'm doing great, thanks Sandra. I'm just outside of Hamilton, and I'm really enjoying in Ontario. I'm really enjoying, we've sort of had a break in heat. We had some really, really hot days, and the last few days have been nice and cool, and I've been able to open all my windows and turn off the air, and it's been lovely. Hello, Michael. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining in. I'm just going to give it another minute to get everyone in here. I'm excited for today. Yeah, applique it opens so many doors in your quilting. Oh, Edmonton, hi. That's so far away from here. I've never been out west, and I can't wait someday to go out west. I was actually supposed to go out west this spring, but obviously that was canceled, but sometime. I'm gonna head. I've only been like Ontario in east, never west. Oh, a sip of water. Okay, I'm gonna turn you around so I can say hi in person. Hello, everybody. Hi. So I'm Amanda, and I'm one of the Janome Canada's educators. And today we're going to be talking about raw edge applique. And I just want to give you a little bit of my background with applique. When I started quilting, I don't know why, but I was convinced that the harder it was, the harder that it was, the better it would be. And so I have pieced some really intricate things in my time, and I just really felt that was the way I needed to do it. But then I switched and I started to introduce more applique into my sewing, and man, it has been a game changer. Like those things that I didn't think I could do, or I would put on the back burner because I had an idea but I didn't know how to complete it. I whip out the applique now and I get projects done, and I'm super inspired by them. So I'm excited today to share a little bit with you about applique, and I'm using my M7 Continental today, and it is amazing for applique. I'm going to show you all the cool features on it and some of the cool other things that you can do. Oh my goodness, hi everyone, so many of you are joining in today, thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn you back around. See you. Okay, so first off, this is an applique I did this summer. I'm going to try to zoom you out a bit. Music can let me to do that. I can zoom in, but not out. Okay, there we go. So this is a raw edge applique, and you'll see there's a little bit of fraying and stuff up here. This actually I have hanging outside my door, and it is kind of faded because it's right in the sun. But I did this because everyone is doing, you know, those rainbow paintings. They were doing rainbow paintings and putting them on their windows, but I really don't have any outside windows, so I did this. So this is a simple technique where I just stitch down the applique. I don't stitch right around. Actually, we, my friend Tanya and I, call it quick and dirty quilting because it's super quick and effective, and it's stunning. I love this piece. But then I will show you more about this type of applique, which is more traditional raw edge. I don't know if I can zoom you in. So here is a nice blanket stitch, just sealing in that raw edge, and you can do almost any shape you could imagine. The trick is using your machine in a way that you're going to be able to sit the stitches right nice and tight into that cut line. So this quilt actually I made just before Christmas, and it's I have more layers here. It's just I have an Irish chain, I think that's what it's called, background, which is pieced, and then I appliqued letters on top, and it's my St. Patty's Day quilt, and it actually says may the road rise up to meet you. That is my favorite Irish blessing. I just love the imagery of your journeys and your travels and the road rising up. So I appliqued all the letters and some cool designs on the quilt with a raw edge and a blanket stitch. So, all right, I'm gonna move things around for a second. All right, so one of the really cool things that we have at Janome that we carry is this artistic tack. And so this is a temporary adhesive. It has low VOC because we're always concerned about this. And let me tell you, I've used different temporary adhesives, especially I used to spray base my quilts a lot. And like I remember the first quilt I spray basted, I was pregnant and the quilt shop that I was in refused to let me be in the room while they spray basted it because the smell was just so strong. I use this one. I have a teeny tiny studio and I don't even notice the smell off of it. And I really like it. So this is, when you take the lid off, it looks just like a spray painting can. Don't get any ideas. And you give it a good shake and you spray it onto the back of the fabric you want to place down and it sticks. So I have, let me just find the sample for you. Okay, I have this little square here. There's always so many threads. Okay, so all you do is you hold it back a little ways and give it a little spray, and then you stick it down and it's going to stay there. It's not going to move around. And that's really important because while you're sewing, it easily shifts. So you can, I didn't cover it very well there, but you could give it a good covering and stick it down and you're ready to sew. And this is really a game changer because I have used a lot of the times like the fusible webbing, and then you're like cutting it out and ironing. This is so much quicker and easier. Anyway, so that's what I've used to put down all my pieces that you will see today. Okay, so let's take you over to the machine. This is the M7 Continental. It is a beauty. So when you're using Applique on the M7, it's amazing because we have this little t-shirt button, which is our applications menu. And you go in there and this fancy, I love this one because it has a nice little heart. It's everything I love. And then you go into Applique and this sets up your machine so you're ready to go. It tells you what foot to use. It gives you all these 6 different stitches here to choose from. And I really love blanket stitch number 1. So this sets it all up. You're good to go. You can applique. But there's more. Of course, this little button here is our pivot button. When you press this, every time you stop sewing, your needle goes down and your foot goes up. And this is super important when you're doing applique because you want to be able to pivot your fabric quickly and easily under so that you can line up your fabric perfectly. I have done a couple of demonstrations. When you're dealing with curves, it is super hard to keep everything tight here, but every time you stop, you can reposition, and that's key on keeping a nice, clean applique line. Another great feature of this machine is this start-stop button. Now goes for any machine that we have that has a start-stop button. And at first, I wasn't a big believer, or I shouldn't say believer. I was scared of it. I felt like I needed the control of a foot pedal, but I quickly realized how much nicer it is. I have hip problems sometimes, and I find when I can sew without using the foot pedal, I feel much better at the end of the day. So the start-stop button, if you've never used it, it's simply you press it, it starts sewing, and then you press stop, and it stops. That is the quick and easy method with it. But something cool that you might not know is if you press the button and hold it, do you notice the speed on that? It slows right down and it starts slowly. And then when you take your finger off of it, it just speeds up and goes however fast you have it set for. And then if you do the opposite, you hold it again and now it's slowing down. And when you take your finger off, it stops. So this is really cool when you are appliquing because it gives you so much more control to make sure that when you're turning a corner or you're finishing an applique that it stops exactly where you want it to. Okay, so then there's so many cool features about this. I'm going to show you, I'm going to move you for a second. So right here, you will see I've done kind of a blanket stitch, and you'll notice right along here, there's this big gap. And so what happened here is that I started my stitch and I went along, and I think I did it here, but it didn't demonstrate it well enough. But when I got to here, I started my stitch over. So that means if you stop, and this is really great on corners, then it will start the stitch from the beginning. So it's going to give you space on corners. So it gives you all that extra space. And how that, I have a demo here for you of a corner where I've used this is right, oh my goodness, I just tried to point for you to see it on my screen. So right here on the corner, you notice that it's this one here, and if I just turn the corner here, it would have given me one stitch and stitched in back in here. But instead, once I pivoted at this corner, I press the start over button and it gives me 2 stitches. So it gives you that nice little extra space there. And I have a corner where I didn't do that. Just a demo. Oh, right here it is. Okay, so it's hard to tell, but right here, so I stitched and I did 2 stitches and that brought me to the corner, and I didn't hit the stitch start over button. And see this extra stitch here? It started right on that. So this start over button, and I'll show you where that is on your machine. It's right here. So every time you end, and there's this cornering button right here. So if you're doing a corner, you have this on, and then you hit your start over button, and it'll start your pattern over again. And I love this feature because it makes everything look even better. So let's show you that on a sample. Yeah, it's really great. Okay, so some machines do not have that start over button. And I didn't know what you would do for that, but Liz told me the other day, and it's genius. So if you don't have a start over button, but you have, what you can do is you can select any other stitch on your machine and then go back and stitch on it, or go back and pick that stitch again, and that will reset it to the beginning of the stitch. Can you start over without the reinforcement stitches? Yes. So when you use the cornering button and the start over button, it doesn't do the reinforcement stitches again. It just starts sewing like you've never stopped really, but you're starting the stitch pattern over. So I'll show you that here. Can I get you in any closer? Okay. So I'm going to slow down my machine. I am known for sewing fast, so Applique sometimes challenges me because I don't like to slow down. I like to go fast. Okay, so now I have I started and I put with the hand wheel right in on that right hand side. I can't tell my directions. I put the needle in so I know that it's lined up perfectly. And then I'm going to press the start button and hold it down just so I get a slow start, and then I'm going to bring it up to speed, which will not be very fast. And then once I get close to the corner, I'm going to slow it down again by pressing the start stop button. So let's stitch. So here it goes. So that's slow. And then I've let go of the button, and now it's going nice and slow. And it drives me nuts to go slow, but really this is how you're going to get the best finish. And now I'm going to slow it down so I get right at the corner. So it stopped right in the corner. I used the slow down button, and now I'm going to press my start over button, which was that one right on the machine, the button right beside it, sorry. When you look at up here, it's this button right here. And if you were on a machine that doesn't have the start over button, you would simply pick any other stitch and then go back to your blanket stitch. And now you'll notice I stopped and my foot is up so I can pivot nicely, and I'm right on track. And now I'm going to press start again, and it's going to start without the lock stitch. And it's going to give me 2 nice big changes. And so you can start that way and then speed up your machine and then go like stink if you want, but I always keep it slow. Okay, so we're going to stop that. and I'll show you exactly what that looked like. So look at that. You've got a nice clear corner with lots of space and the stitches aren't overlapping. That is one of my favorite features, and I've made so many quilts before I knew about this feature with applique, and I wish I'd known about this sooner. Okay, so now I also want to just show you, because curves are super tricky. So I cut out this circle. Oh, I'm really far in. I have this circle, and I want to show you just a few tricks on how to get it nice and tight around that circle. So the first trick is to go super slow. The second trick is to use your pivot function a lot. So I'm going to start this in. I'm going to go in right at the left-hand side. And then sometimes I like to just put my foot down to make sure that I know where everything is. And I'm going to start it. And now this time I'm going to kind of keep a tighter control on it as I'm sewing. And then I'm going to stop. And you have to try to get it where it's stopping on the right-hand side. And then I can readjust and start again. One thing that I've noticed with doing circles is sometimes you'll see the fabric starting to pull a little bit more. And I've played around with, when you're up here, I sometimes, depending on the fabric, the presser foot is just a little too, there's too much pressure on it. So when you go into this little menu here, it gives you all these different options that you can play around with. So sometimes it automatically sets it up for -2, and sometimes I just bump it down a couple more if I'm getting a lot of drag in my fabric, and it seems to help a lot. So back down here, I'm going to set that back up to where it was, and then we'll stitch a little bit more, and then I'll take it off to show you. So the whole time, this little red mark here helps you guide where your fabric is, and I like to keep, I'm not going to put anything near that needle while it's moving, this corner of the triangle along the edge, and that seems to line everything up perfectly. But you, after some experimenting, you'll be able to figure that one out. Okay. Oh, another cool one is if you use, so if you finish and you've gone all the way around, we have this button here. So if you press this button, and then it flashes, and then you go back down, then you start sewing, and then it's going to do a lock stitch for you. And then I cut it. And then see how nice and tight you can get that to the circle. So curves definitely are tricky. Let me take you over here. Like on this, it's like the two different areas here, trying to get that just perfect. And so I got into the corner here, and then I restarted my stitch. And I'm not sure if I really needed to do that, and maybe I could have just continued and that would have lined up fine. But it's definitely, the tricky parts are the big points, and then the tight curves, you have to go super slow. I'm making this video on the Continental M7. That's what I have right now, but there's a lot of the different machines have the application menu and the same features. So the start over button is on many of them. The start stop button is surprisingly on so many of the different machines, and it's a great feature to use. And I love that when you press the start button, it goes slow to start, then you take your finger off, it goes up to speed, and the opposite is true when you stop. You push it in and you hold it, and it'll slow down. It's great for when you have like tight corners and stuff. So this little, artistic tact, I really love these little unicorns. Aren't they adorable? I was making masks out of them, and I've run out of big enough pieces, so I have all these little pieces left over. So for this one, I was going to show you just quickly how to do straight line applique that's just going to tack everything down, much like on my example with the rainbow. So I just cross-hatched over it. It's fairly quick to do when you get going, but look at those. The M7 has these great even stitches, and they're straight on, like it can't be any more pretty than that when it comes to stitching. So what I use is my HP 2-foot, Your walking foot would work. All my samples today have bedding on the back. I just find that it helps things from shifting too much. But this is my HP2 foot. And you'll notice that there's this little hole here. And that's where our quilt guide bar goes in. And it's designed to go off the right hand side of your foot. But you can also make it work to go off your left hand side. I do that quite often. So in here, and we have a set with different bars, but in here, you want to make sure that you put that in straight in so that there's little clips in there that you're not bending or breaking anything off. And then because it's tight, whatever you set this at, it's going to be consistent. So if you want something fairly tight or something far away, and you can go out almost to right about there, so just about that much left over if you wanted something with lines really far apart. So all we're going to do is, so much lint, is we're going to line this up, and then sometimes I draw a line if I wanted diagonal, then I draw a starting line and then I just follow that line. But this time we're just going to follow the edge. So I'm going to come over to my machine and switch out our feet. Now for this I have been using our F foot, which I love. I actually use this foot a lot because it's so clear and open and it has that guide mark. So we're going to take off the foot holder, which is quick and easy. Undo it and then click this one on. So it has a bigger attachment, so you kind of have to open it up a lot of the way before you can feed it into your machine. And screw it on tight. Nothing is worse than losing your foot while you're sewing. That is bad news. Okay, nice and tight. Well, not too tight. Okay, and then we're going to go up and we're going to leave the applications menu and go back here. And we're also going to pick, this is our dual feed button, and it's going to come up, and make sure you have the proper foot attached because you don't want to do this with the wrong foot. And you want to make sure that you're using the proper stitch so you don't break any needles. So I'm going to choose stitch number 4 because this lines up perfectly with this foot. And then we're going to come back down here. And I think actually I'm going to increase, I'll show you that. Sorry, that's a lot of back and forth. I apologize. I'm going to increase my stitch length to 3.5. That's what I like to quilt at. It's personal preference, but I like to quilt at 3.5. And then we'll come back down here and let's get this set up. I'm going to set it up around, I like using all these little guides down here so you can be consistent. So I'm going to set it up to this first line here, and I'm going to set my quilt under, or my sandwich under there, and start at the top. And we're going to start sewing. There we go. And it's slow, so let's add that up. And then stop. So that was the first pass, and I just kept it along there. And then when you come into the second, you just line up your foot along that stitched line, and let's start again. It's just as easy as that. And you just keep going until you have a nice grid work. And on something like this, I probably would go back and do a line the other way or tighten up the lines. So though that has a stunning effect as well. So there's a bunch of different techniques on how to use raw edge applique. And I hope you've learned something. I really do suggest this artistic tack if you're doing any raw edge applique. It's amazing. It really is a game changer. And it does wash off easily. I accidentally sprayed my hand earlier and it came off with soap and water. Not a problem at all. Thank you so much for joining me today and following along with the raw edge applique. If you have any questions, just shout out on our feed and we can address those for you. But really, raw edge applique really opens up tons of different doors for your quilting and other projects. I know I've used it on pillows and bags and clothing, but I use it mostly on quilting. But it really offers a different layer to quilting than I was open to when I first started quilting. It's quite a journey when you start. You kind of change and grow, and it's been amazing to see how my quilting has gone. But the cool things that I've opened my mind to, and all the different things that you can use out there. Anyway, thanks for joining us today. Take care and have a great day.